Welcome back to today's episode of Words of the Wise. Today we're here with Chief Bell of the Redwood City Police Department in California, 20 years of law enforcement experience, and you hold several certifications within leadership. Welcome to the show, Chief Bell.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yes, and you are a younger chief, so you must have gotten there gotten there early in your career. Tell us a little bit more about your background and how you ended up where you are.
Yes, so I started my law enforcement career in 2006 with the San Mateo County Sheriff's Office as a correctional officer at the ripe age of 24. So not too young, but I was blessed to just serve 1 year as a correctional officer and then get put in the police academy. Got hired as a deputy with the same agency and did 5 years as a deputy and then promoted to sergeant, did 4.5 years as a sergeant, 2.5 as a lieutenant, about 3.5 as a captain, and then came to a crossroads and decided to leave that organization for reasons we can talk about later, maybe, and threw my name in the hat for the chief job in Redwood City, and the stars aligned, and here I am. So I was like 41 in like 8 months, I think. You know how nowadays and the college age and stuff, when kids are graduating, they're like, oh, I'm 18 in 2 months. And like, that's
Yeah.
how they gauge. So I was 41 in 8 months.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, that's true. And you're lucky you only had 1 year as a correctional officer. So my dad was a correctional officer. He didn't start until he was in his 40s.
Oh, wow.
And he was a correctional officer up until he retired. So I
Yeah.
know that that's not a fun job.
It was like, it wasn't awful, but I just love being outside, and being
Yeah.
inside was not always fun. And it smelled in there too. So
Yeah. 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 And so outside is important to you. What else are you doing outside of work
So
that's important to you?
currently not much. This is my third year as a chief, but really just focusing on family and that work-life harmony. It's not always a balance. It's more, just sometimes I have like 90% that goes towards work in one day and 10 for family, and then sometimes that's reversed the next day. It just depends. But outside of work for the summer, my daughter and I are taking private lessons for golf, so she's getting into that. So very excited. I'm also getting into it, so it's a great activity for both of us to do together, and hopefully she'll like it and continue and earn a scholarship. No,
Yeah, yes.
wishful thinking,
It's
wishful thinking.
it's a really fun. I wish I got into it when I was your daughter's age. I've started playing. I'm in Scottsdale, so there's a lot of golf courses here, and it's something I started the last few years.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun, and I've noticed, especially in this line of work, there's a lot of opportunities to network with people and get to know others, and also just like the tournaments that fundraisers that other nonprofits have. So get to go in those spaces and not completely embarrass myself.
Yes. And it teaches you patience.
Yes, yes.
I wanted to ask, you said that, you're focusing right now on kind of that work life, family balance and harmony. Is that something that you always prioritized or always got right? We talk to a lot of chiefs and a lot of people in this profession that, talk about how difficult that is to balance with the stress of the career as well.
Yeah, I was awful at it when I first started, and just because I was so focused on making a name for myself and showing the dedication and showing that I would show up no matter what, and I would let things fall. And I was fortunate, growing up. My grandfather worked in for Stanford DPS, so he's like cop at Stanford University, and he passed away 5 years after he retired, but he wrote in a journal for me before he passed. I asked him to just some like words of wisdom, and he talked about having glass balls, and each one represents something or some part of your life, like family, friends, and some of those balls that you may have like are rubber, right? If you drop them, like they'll bounce back up, but like your ball that is glass, that is family, you drop it, it'll crack, and that can't be repaired. So I had that as a premise going into my career, but still like even though I did everything for my family, I still didn't prioritize. And that included my extended family. I got married in 2013, but I had been with my wife since 2007. So she'd been through the thick of it with me in the academy. So she was used to like, oh, work, work, work. I get it. Like she understood, hey, I have to go do my own thing or whatever. But we had our daughter in 2015 and I had recently promoted to sergeant. So I was really just focused on being a sergeant and not really realizing the impact that, by me leaving and my wife was stay at home and then just coming home and, me not paying attention, me being burnt out or me being frustrated, tired, always something. So then, it just came to a head and was like, hey, I have to change. And take a step back and went to therapy just to understand like what I needed to do to change. And that has helped me throughout the rest of my career and also to help others that I lead, like officers. Um, they go through similar experiences, right? And I give them time to work through that in their life so that way they can come back revived and just so they feel supported as well.
Okay, I was gonna say that I was actually gonna ask you that question, but you answered it for me. I think that we all make mistakes. We all have perspective on things that we could have done better. There's no one who's listening to this podcast. And if they say that they're perfect and they did everything perfect, I'd be really like hesitant to believe that person. We've all gone through things and we've all done things that maybe we wish we could have done better. But I do think it sets us up for the future and for us to be better prepared to help others. And so it sounds like to me you had that experience. And now that you're sitting here in the chief position, you can lead from that level of understanding and empathy, and you can show up for your team in a way that maybe you wouldn't be able to if you hadn't experienced those things.
Exactly. And there's a lot of other things that have happened in my life. Like 2020 was awful for all of us, right? But let's just take COVID out of the business. I lost my grandmother who I was taking care of. I lost my father, and my mom had a stroke, like all in like a 6 month period. And I was a captain at the sheriff's office during this time, and it was just so much. And I didn't understand why all of this bad stuff was happening and how do I cope with this? But the experiences that I had prior to that really helped guide me and then built resilience within me to be able to just go one day at a time and just understand that, you know, this is happening for a reason to me and my family, but we will get through it. Like we just need to be together and communicate and just love on each other. And a lot of times people want to know why. Why is this happening? And you don't know why, but you will know why in the future because that it'll come out and in different ways, whether that's, talking to other people, helping someone get through the same. So just those experiences. And then in 2024, when I was a chief here, or I'm still the chief here, my cousin, she was murdered in Modesto as a result of domestic violence, and that just like wrecked our family. And still dealing with that. And she had a daughter who's my goddaughter, and it hit me different because of my perspective and just even being in charge of an organization and just watching my family go through the justice system and all of that craziness. And then my aunt was diagnosed with like terminal brain cancer shortly after that happened. And then we just lost my Nana, who's like the matriarch of our family. So like I find myself in life going through cycles of tragedy, but it's it's the perspective that I have that helps me get through everything because uh, I know that God won't put anything on my plate that I can't handle, and I am confident in that. And so, even though there are days that it's not great, um, I'm breathing. I have a loving spouse. I have a wonderful daughter, great family. I have a great job that I am spoiled and blessed to be at, and so there's really nothing to complain about.
Mm. I I love the mental training that it has taken to get to that point because most people don't think that way. And it does take a level of gratitude and mental training to see that perspective and to say like, yes, these things are really hard and I'm also blessed and I can be grateful. You know, two things can exist at once. You could be going through one of the hardest times of your life and still find things to be grateful for and still find that strength to move forward. How have you been able to balance the vulnerability, you know, sharing these things with your team and also being the leader of an organization? You know, there's been a lot of chiefs that we've talked to who have also gone through personal tragedy, and sometimes that can be hard to navigate the two. But do you find that being vulnerable in your role as a chief is something that's actually helped?
Absolutely. What changed my perspective was listening to Brene Brown's Power of Vulnerability. Um, that I still listen to bits and pieces every now and again, just as a refresher, but that changed my mindset. And, I need to show up in a space and model what that looks like. And even though, like, because you can't have an ego, right? If you're going to be vulnerable, then if you're not going to be vulnerable, it's like I'm embarrassed to share something, or I'm embarrassed to show that I may appear weak or something is wrong with me, right? But that's a part of the process of human nature and life. And if I have that perception, or people think of me that, oh, I don't share anything, or nothing's wrong with me, or I haven't been through the tough times, then they won't understand that it's okay for them to feel the way they're feeling. So that's how I show up in our spaces, in our meetings, in our one-on-ones, just talking. And it can be anyone. It doesn't, I talk to officers, dispatchers, line level, front-facing city staff. Like I share a lot, but I'm a little different. So I don't mind sharing those things. And um, the benefit that I've seen is having people then turn and be vulnerable themselves, or change their mind about certain things, or come to me later on in their life and said that made an impact in my life. And that's really my passion, is having an influence on others and to help others. I've always been that way. I knew early on in my life that I was put on this earth to serve. And
Mm.
that comes out in many different facets in my life, not just at work.
Yeah. Thank you. I love that. I think that vulnerability is a superpower. I think the more that we can share the messy parts of ourselves with other people, then other people feel more safe to also be human and to go through those things. And I used to be afraid of that. You know, I used to want everyone to think that I was perfect and buttoned up, and I never wanted to share the messy parts of what was going on. And um, now that I have perspective, and I've actually, you might actually know him because you're in California. Do you know Chief Gang,
Yes.
Neil Gang?
Video gang. Yep.
So he's retired now, but he was the first chief to ever look at me and say, "Tell me your story."
Mm.
And I was like, what do you mean? And I remember being on this call, and if he listens to this, he'll know this is what happened. I was like, what do you mean? Like, I told you my story, like, everything's good, you know? And he was like, no. He's like, first of all, like, I'm a cop. I looked you up. Like, I did research before getting on this call. I don't just get on a call with like random people. You know, I need to know who I'm talking to. He's like, but I know that there's something beneath the surface. And it was really scary for me to be like, yeah, this is what I've been through. And like, these were my hardships. And this is, what my past looked like. And this is what brought me here today. But it was such an exhale. I was
Mhm.
like, wow, like that to me was like all the things that I had shoved down for so long to try to give this facade of being fine or perfect.
Yeah.
And he encouraged me. He brought me out for it was the first keynote presentation that I ever did in California. And he's like, I want you to share your story. And it was terrifying to get in front of a room full of leadership and talk about, my background and some of the hard things I've been through. But then after that, I was like, wow, this is really a superpower to be able to share that and for other people to be able to relate to the hard times so that you can come together in a more efficient way during the good times. I think it brings people together in a way that, putting up a wall could never.
Absolutely. And that's very brave, to do. And It as I've been in my leadership journey, I've been invited to a lot of places to speak, and that's not my favorite thing to do. And people tease me all the time. It's like, well, then why did you become a chief? Like, that's your job. And I laugh and I'm like, but it's just uncomfortable. But once I start sharing certain things, like that superpower that you're talking about, like you really feel that, and it changes people's lives, and you don't realize it until you're doing it.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you.
I think for me, there's some parts of me that are still very scared to share and be vulnerable. I think as I've gotten older, I've gotten a little bit better. And, I mean, tragedy is inevitable. I think 2013, 2012 was that similar year as your 2020, where I had lost several people within that year frame. And it's hard to be vulnerable. So my question is, how did you find the strength, and what tips and advice do you have on finding some of that?
That's a good question. Really, it comes down to what I believe in, and prayer. I'm a very spiritual person. I was raised in the church. I went to a Christian school for college in Texas. That was a different experience, but it was great. But really, just it. I am who I am, and it what other people think of me doesn't matter. And I know I know what I'm doing. I know who I am. I'm confident in who I am. And if someone doesn't like it, or someone gets rubbed the wrong way from something I said, I can't lose sleep over it. I can fix and repair as much as I can of a relationship and do my part. But if the other person isn't willing, then that's not on me. I've done everything I can do. So just being comfortable with who you are, and that takes time as we grow older and go through different experiences, because sometimes you change on how you react to things. But just giving yourself permission, and grace, to grow, and just a lot of pep talks too. Just telling
Mhm.
yourself, like, it's going to be okay. You're going to do just fine. You're here for a reason. Like, just get it done and smile.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Jess and I were talking about this question that we heard, and we've talked about this quite a bit because I think it's such a powerful question. But it was, are you afraid of failure, or are you afraid of other people seeing you fail? And I think it goes back to what we were saying before. Like, are we really afraid of being vulnerable, or are we afraid of what other people are going to think of us when we're vulnerable? And I think that that is the key for everything. I think it's a lot of it is we're just afraid of other people's perception of us. What are they going to think? Are they going to judge us? Are they going to talk bad about us? It's not really the act of failing or the act of vulnerability that's scary. It's other people's opinions and perception of that. And when you can get to that point where you're like, I am who I am. And Jess and I were just talking about this before we hit record with you, where it's like, yeah, I'm goofy, I'm a little weird sometimes, I say like quite a bit, probably more than I should, and sometimes my brain like talks in circles, and it's just me, it's who I am, and I love me, and it's taken me a really, really long time to get to the point where I love me and I'm comfortable with myself. And for me, being vulnerable in front of people now isn't scary. It's maybe a little uncomfortable, or you get maybe some like nerves if you're doing like a presentation or something, but I don't really care if people don't resonate with that, or if they judge me or they talk bad about me, because I do love me. And I think we all need to kind of get to that point if we can, and use the resources that we can to be comfortable with ourselves and be comfortable failing and being vulnerable and showing our messy parts, and being authentically who we are.
Yes, and a lot of those feelings I think you're talking about is the shame that we carry within ourselves, and how that comes out, once we do something or we fail, and like how someone sees it and it's like, oh, that shame inside, you're shamed, right? So just like letting go of the shame, and just understanding it's a part of the process, and it's going to be okay. But the the vulnerability part is like, I still tell people to listen to the Brene Brown. That's my go-to for everyone. And it's like, you got to listen to this. Like it will change your life.
Yeah. I have a few of her books. I don't know. What was the one that you said again?
Or
Power of
vulnerability.
Vulnerability. It's
Okay.
actually not a book. It's a series. Like if you go on Audible,
Okay.
it's like an 8 part. It's her speaking at a convention,
Oh, cool.
but it's great.
I wrote that one down.
Yes.
Yeah, we're always looking
Yeah.
for new things. What do you think is the key to communication within an organization, and how much do you think leadership impacts the wellness and the culture of an organization?
It's everything. It impacts everything because as the leader in this organization, if I come into a meeting in a space and I act a certain way or have a certain perception about allowing people to, or it's saying it's okay to go to therapy or like giving someone more time. If I have an attitude that is negative and isn't tolerant of those things, then my captains and lieutenants and sergeants are going to replicate that. And if I'm doing it, then it must be okay. So they're going to do it. So what I model is, and I emphasize with all of my staff and leaders is, do you know your people? Are you getting to know them so you know what's going on in their lives so you can support them or you can find someone to help support them? Um, and when I first got here, like that was really my strong message to everyone because as a team, if you don't know each other, then you're not going to be able to grow and build together. So not everyone wants to go get a cup of coffee with you, right, on your team, or officers are different, like, but I don't want that here. I want us to break those walls. And one thing I can say about this department before I got here, a great foundation of that space, but we've just been building on that and emphasizing, if someone's off, ask them. Like, you have permission to pull them aside, officer to officer, dispatcher to dispatcher, and then say something. Say something to your supervisor. And it doesn't have to be in detail about what's going on. It's more of like, hey, can you just keep an eye on this person for me? Like, and then they have their own way of checking in. But just building that culture of like asking people if they're okay or calling them out if you know that their behavior is different. And if you don't know the person, then you won't be able to tell if they have a change in behavior, right? So it really starts with building that relationship at the get-go.
Yeah. How do you get your leadership team on board? We talk about this a lot with organizations, or especially the line level supervisors, right? Your sergeants, like how do you get everyone to share the same mission? I know that you're leading from the front, you're modeling this behavior, but is there anything else that you've done that's been successful to create that cohesiveness within the command?
So we have a lot of meetings. We meet once a month with all of our sergeants and professional staff leads and supervisors. And we talk about stuff like this and kind of like what I expect their relationships to look like with their officers. We've gone on a team retreat where we discussed wellness and talked about how we can really just be there for one another. And we could talk about it, but then you have to say like, this is what it looks like. Like, pick up the phone, or like, it's okay when someone's on admin leave. It's okay to reach out to them and ask if they're okay. You don't have to talk about what's going on, but don't just shun them. Like, they are still a part of this department. And although you may not know what's going on, it's okay to reach out. And then recently I did one-on-ones with all of the sergeants and professional staff supervisors just to do a check-in and just to ask them how they are doing. And then at the end, it's like, this is what I want you to do with your team. But it's hard because in this line of work, I would say the overlying culture is like, and we're getting better, but is like, why aren't they at work? What's going on? Oh, they called in sick again. Oh, geez. And then they don't assume positive intentions.
Mm.
Like, they automatically assume the worst or something negative. So it's like, let's flip the script, guys. Let's assume positive intentions. And they might need you to call them and help them. You never know. So that's really how we've been doing it. It's just we talk about it. And when we're in a meeting and if someone like says something that I don't like, I jump on them right away. Not, in a kind way, obviously, but I call them out and then we talk about it. It's like, okay, well, tell me more about that. Why do you feel that way? And it's like, no, we're not going to say that because if we say that here, you're going to go back and say it with them, and I don't want that. So it's just being stern and having boundaries with respect to that. And over time, I think people just they understand what I want, and then I think they just go along with it. But
Yeah, I think they say who you surround yourself with are the most influential people in your life, and you start to act like the people that you surround yourself with. And so when you can create the majority of positivity and cohesiveness and conversation and creating that culture, then the minority will eventually, start to conform to that as
yes,
well. And I really, really like, and I wanted to say that again, assume positive intent or in positive intentions. I like that a lot. Thank you.
yes. So it's easy as humans to automatically go to that negativity, but if we reinforce the positive part, then it makes the day go a little bit easier.
For sure.
Wellness is something you've built up over time within your department. What are some of the initiatives that you've implemented that have you found really successful?
So, like I said before, when I got here 3 years ago, it was a great foundation, and we had a captain, Ashley Osborne. He really took that to heart and started developing the CTCI, like all the debriefs, and just opening up opportunities for people to explore wellness. And now, I mean, we're spoiled here. We really are. These guys, we have fresh fruit delivered to the police department a couple times a week. We have healthy snacks available for them. We have a sauna. We have obviously a gym. We have a massage chair. But the most recent thing that I am very proud of that we've done is we brought in a physical therapist to come in and is at our station like 2 to 3 times a week at varying hours, so different people and different shifts can take advantage of that. So, or when they're done with their shift, and that has made a significant impact. Not only, I don't want to jinx it, but just injuries, right, and like that pain, because when you are working in that gear constantly, like you develop back pain, knee pain, or just injuries are very prevalent here, and to just get like a quick little massage from a therapist that can find exactly where your pain point is and provide some relief, like that reduces your stress. And then if you're getting suited up after that and going out in the field, and then now you're not having to worry about that nagging pain, then you're going to be a better officer out there and not have like I would be grumpy. Like I had injured myself in like 2013. It was my hips. I was a hot mess, but I was in so much pain. I didn't want to say anything. I didn't want to report the injury because, I was trying to be cool, I guess, which is a dumb mistake. But then one day, like my whole right leg like went numb and I couldn't feel it and I had gone too far. So had I had that option back then to do that and like not necessarily file a workers' comp claim, but have the accessibility to this service that right there, then that could have made a vast difference. And potentially I probably didn't need surgery, right? But I ended up having to have 2 hip surgeries. And yeah, again, I told you I was a hot mess, but it's just providing things like that. And it's easy for us to say like, oh, when you get home, do this, when you do, when you are on your time off, but they spend a significant time here. So what can we bring here that they can enjoy and take advantage of while they spend their time? So just having different options, but really ultimately the biggest thing is the accessibility to therapy or coaching and talking to someone, because that's the biggest game changer for all of us because of all the trauma that we go through in this line of work.
I think people know. But again, like you said, it's not having the access to it or having the accessibility.
Mhm.
makes it so much easier to get things done.
Absolutely. And I mean, when I was a younger deputy and dumb, I knew exactly what I was supposed to do at home. I
Mm.
knew how to eat properly. I knew how to exercise. Was I doing it? No, because I was I was in a bad place. And if I would have had what this place has at my old department, like it would have been a different experience for me.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, it's like we know, but it's just easier. But the fact that you have fresh fruit there, it's so much easier just to grab that than to have to figure out what you need to have.
Yes.
So I love that. Thank
Or
you.
DoorDash.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. DoorDash.
We do that a lot here.
Yeah.
There are a lot of leaders who listen to this podcast, and I think everyone agrees that wellness has been something that's been a push for the last 10 years, especially in the last 5 years. California's different. You guys are ahead of the curve. I've said this all the time. Like, you guys kind of spearheaded this and started this initiative. And I think everyone, in the rest of the country is kind of followed your lead. But what advice would you have to other leaders who are wanting to build a wellness program and wanting to provide these resources for their team, but maybe don't know where to start, maybe don't know how to find the funding, how to get the buy-in? What would your advice be for other leaders, in the context of building out a wellness program?
You have to focus on the human being and who we are serving as leaders. Like it is our job to make sure that we provide everything that they need to be successful. And if that means fighting for funding from your city manager, then that you have to do that, right? But I would say just to start, like start small and then allow it to grow. There are a lot of grants out there that are available. Even like in your community, there are people that want to contribute to public safety. So if you have an idea for a wellness program and you need X amount of dollars, then send some of your people out there and see if there's companies that are willing to sponsor, a program for your officers. And you'd be surprised what is people are willing to do and want to say that they contributed. But again, like you have to start. You can't just talk about it. You got to get it going. And even if it's just starting with a fruit basket twice a week, that's something. And it involve people. Like, don't just have it be your command staff and talk about what is our wellness program going to be like. Bring in your peer support, bring in line level, and have them be a part of the conversation because even though we think we're amazing and have all the best ideas, we don't. The best ideas come from the ground, and because they're the ones that are enduring this every day, and we have to listen to them.
Mhm. I love this idea of small steps over time create big change. And I think that sometimes we have it flipped upside down. We want to make this big change right out the gate. And of course, that's the goal. We want to have the biggest impact that we possibly can and help as many people as we can. But sometimes it starts by just putting one foot in front of the other.
Yes, that's my go-to phrase here when I got here. It was baby steps
Yeah.
because we're behind in technology and other things, and everyone wanted to do all this stuff. And of course, when you're the new chief, everyone's trying to get your ear and like, hey, come on, let's do this, or But just really just sitting back and explaining to everyone like baby steps, like start off small and let's get that right first, so our foundation is strong and then we can build on that because if you go too fast or too big, it your foundation is going to be cracked and shaky and there's not everything's going to be squared away and it's going to fall apart and it will not be successful. So it's okay, baby steps.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you.
And you've shared your grandpa passed down a book to you. So, what words of wisdom can you pass along to the younger generations?
You are here on this earth for a reason and you need to find your why and your purpose. And that you might think that you've got it all figured out, or you think you want to do something and you're so hard pressed, but a door gets slammed in your face. But just know that when that door is slammed in your face, there's just a bigger and better door around the corner. And you just have to have the open mind to walk through it.
Mm. Wow. I love those words of wisdom.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Thank you for your time. We really appreciate it. Thank you for spending an hour with us talking about leadership and wellness.
It was my pleasure. Thank you guys for what you do.
Of course.